Hi everybody, Michelle Vassallo from Rhythm Massage Development and Education. I've been working closely with MMA in the past few weeks, and we've been talking about what sort of things we could share with members to help people feel a little bit more positive about everything that we've been going through globally the last few weeks. So what I wanted to do from my perspective was share a few little messages with you of the things that I've been doing, because let's face it, we've all been in the same boat. Everybody in the world's facing this. So some of the things that I've been doing to keep myself feeling positive and to keep myself on track and not losing myself to the fear and the anxiety and the apprehension about what the future will hold. And we all have that. And especially in the beginning, we all had a lot of that fear and probably sleepless nights and lots of questions that are still yet unanswered. So one of the first things that I did was I started writing for myself. And, you know, everyone has a different way of expressing themselves and processing. And for me, it was writing. And so one of the first pieces that I wrote, I started to concentrate on myself and my feelings and what I was seeing going on around me, and how could I actually make that okay for me. And the two things that I came up with in my first piece of writing are really simple and really old school. And, you know, one of them's something that from a little girl, my dad used to always sing this particular song, One Day at a Time. And so, you know, I've heard that a lot in my life, and there's been very few times that I've really had to apply that to myself and actually break it down to one day at a time. And the situation that we're facing now is something that has brought out that idea or that sentiment for me. So I've been really concentrating on waking up and taking things one day at a time. I'm a planner. I like to plan ahead. I like to book my workshops. I'm supposed to be teaching this weekend. So, you know, I'm an organizer and a planner. So for me, this has completely thrown me into the deep end of the pool without floaties. And I could either choose to drown because I was so afraid and freaked out and anxious about what would happen, or I could sit still and listen to my inner wisdom. So my dad's words came back to me as inner wisdom, one day at a time, and that's what I've been doing. And the other thing is something that my hubby actually said to me on our first date, and I never forgot it. And he did something really funny. There was a real funny moment, and then he looked at me and he said, adapt and improvise. Humans are great adapters. We've known that. We know that about our species. And so adapt and improvise. Get up, taking things one day at a time, which I've really had to narrow down my focus and calm the inner voice and create some quiet for myself. And luckily the whole world's gone quiet, so it's easy to create quiet when things are quiet. And then adapt and improvise. So how do I adapt to the new situation? What do I see around me that I can utilize for myself to build myself personally? And how do I improvise my daily routine? How do I improvise what's happening with my work? How do I improvise and change so that at the end of each day, I'm still okay? So one day at a time has been invaluable for me, and it's the first thing that I discovered about myself during this situation that we face now as a nation and as a global community. And adapt and improvise. And so I've been doing those things with, you know, varying degrees of success, but it's unprecedented this time, and we don't really know how it's going to go. We don't have anything in the past to help us to move forward with this. We only have our own tools. So in order to stay positive, my tricks, adapt and improvise, and take one day at a time. And maybe there's something in that speaks to you as well. Thank you. Bye guys.
Hi, I'm Steve from Rock Tape. In these really strange times, it's important that we maintain our work-life balance, and that includes looking after our mental health. For me, exercise is really important. I'm lucky to live on Victoria's surf coast, so I can get out and have a surf or go for a run as often as I can. But as they say, if exercise is medicine, you'll take your daily dose if it tastes good. So make sure you find something that you really enjoy. I look forward to seeing you all at the Massage and Myotherapy Conference in Adelaide in May next year. Look after yourselves. See you then.
Hey guys, I'd like to welcome Clint Knox to the show. Clint is the president of the New Zealand Massage Association, and as part of our wellness project, broadcast, we are trying to sort of get around the world a little bit just to see and get a little snapshot of where other countries are at. So welcome, Clint.
Thanks, David. It's a delight to be here. So, yeah, very happy to turn up today.
Fantastic. So we hear constantly about how amazing New Zealand's doing as far as knocking this virus over. So that's obviously had a positive effect on where your therapists are at as far as clinic.
Yeah, so I think we all have challenges, and in hearing other little podcasts or webinars as well, like in terms of what we're taught at basic levels, and then as we spend time in practice over the years, we probably get a little bit comfortable in our practices. And so for us, COVID coming along has reinforced the need, especially for health and hygiene, working on healthy people. There are obviously specialist groups as well, but it's definitely sharpening up the thought process around what do we need to be thinking about, why, and how we're going to approach this. And also, do we need to fix things? You know, I typically don't like using that word fix, but some people have the need to sort of help people, and sometimes helping people is not helping them right now. So definitely highlighted some things that help us look a little bit more professional and help people in the manner that we're trained.
Okay, so from the inception of the virus into New Zealand, what sort of steps were taken? You sort of just give us a little bit of a background on where you guys were at in the beginning and where you're at now.
Oh, so yeah, it was a fairly well, I don't know, explosive entry, I guess, if you like. I think what happened with Jacinda Ardern, our Prime Minister, and her expert team, the government, they took us in fairly quickly, and I think it was fairly relaxed as we came into it. So we sort of had, and I don't remember the dates exactly, but it's like saying on a Friday, Saturday, we had this alert system, this 4-level alert system mentioned. We were then labelled as level 2, and we were going to be, I can't remember when that decision was made, whether it was on the Monday following that we would move to level 3. They were having discussions around that. And we dove in pretty quickly, and for everybody, it was life as normal. In level 2, some people had quite a lot of concern and fear going on around welfare for people, their clients and the public, and themselves. And as a result, some people voluntarily chose to close. With lots of questions being asked of us as a guiding organisation to give guidelines, and that was really difficult because we're a voluntary association as well, so it's not mandatory registration in New Zealand. It's not legislated. So people looking for that kind of feedback that we couldn't really give them, and then just in such a rapidly changing environment. So with anything that happens that quickly, I think humans are so well tuned to comfort zones and habits, and that rocked a whole lot of people. So we had some people closing at level 2, and then we literally had 48 hours and we were level 3, and it was level 3 Monday, and then 48 hours level 4, which is lockdown. And so that shocked people, and people, as soon as we hit level 3 for massage therapists, that was basically no more practice. That was a line in the sand, which was really good. And then sort of having guidelines of saying we'll review that in 4 weeks, and people typically heard that'll be for 4 weeks. So the expectations of that time frame, and when the 4 weeks popped up and it said, well, we're going another week before we make a move, that rocked people again. So very interesting, just emotional and fear and just people's comfort, because there's a financial stress as well as like a health and wellness, and so many things factoring in, and then throw in the massive turmoil of massive change. We are not that comfortable with not doing massage. So all sorts of other problems popped up with that as well, little pockets of problems in terms of people trying to find ways back into massaging, or people trying to find ways as to reasons why we shouldn't be, and then how does all this unfold? So we went, I think it was 5 weeks in level 4. I can't remember the number in level 3. I think we must have been close on 4 weeks on that as well. Down into level 2, and we just literally were pulled down into level 1. that was Monday, they brought that decision forward as well, because we hit 0 active cases in the country, which everyone was excited about. And so I guess the biggest thing is what we were trying to link with our Ministry of Health, who are giving us more specific guidelines to our profession rather than general public.
We're in the same position with our association and a number of other associations. We sort of banded together and made a point of looking to government policy and government statements to try and guide our membership as well. So we're in a similar situation.
Yeah. So, and we then, looking at our policy documentation for our organisation, realised that we were quite light on some of those areas as well. And so my time in the executive committee has only been probably a year and a half total, I think.
Right.
And it's fair to say I feel like I'm only just starting to understand probably some of the 50% of how it works. So and there's a lot involved there. So just there's so many pieces of the puzzle that we would have liked to have changed before COVID, that then we sort of had priorities shift and focus shift because of COVID. And it's really difficult, right, to sort of get something that covers everybody, because in New Zealand we have a vast spectrum of relaxation therapists through to like fully clinical therapists, and understanding and education and how that works. So yeah, that created issues as well in terms of just how do we cater to everybody to try and get something out there to sort of comfort and soften that blow and stimulate thought process in terms of how can each individual go back, what are the things they need to consider.
Sure.
Because we're all in unique situations. I couldn't, if you were a massage therapist in your clinic, I couldn't understand your full picture and go, here's the things you need to consider. So we can give some baseline stuff, but I think the general concept was trying to stimulate the thought process. So say, here are some of the things you need to think about, and then put some actions in place and ask some questions around that, which seemed to be helpful for a lot of people. We did get some feedback that was positive. We also got some feedback from people that were quite stressed as well.
Right,
Yeah, so just trying to wheel and deal. And like I said, we've got the two populations a little bit as well, where we were trying to look after our membership, but also look after the profession that's not our membership. So you get the turmoil going on there a little bit, as well as demands and all sorts of bits and pieces going on, that you're sort of going, okay, we understand why this is happening. Please bear with us. And the biggest challenge is I'm very much a here and now person, so I'd love to give you the answer right here and right now. The information was so changeable. We basically had to put the handbrake on and just sort of say, no, let's hold back. We'll give you that information when it looks like it's steady and it's not likely to change. So at one point, the biggest area of contention for us thinking about returning was like, what does that look like?
Sure.
As soon as you mention PPE, personal protective equipment, people are imagining full hazmat suits, masked up, gas mask, everything, the works burger. And sort of like, so our discussions with Ministry of Health were basically looking like we would be wearing masks when we were able to re-enter. And that scared a few people as well, because they weren't sure if that was enough. So the basic information was like pre-screening, re-screening, hygiene in the clinic, and hand hygiene vital. And so we also had like mixed ideas as we're talking and going to be available on social media type platforms or internet-based platforms.
Sure.
Everyone seeing what's happening around the world and jumping on their ship, and jumping into that part of the storm that we aren't necessarily in. So the other factors we're weighing up is like, how many cases do we have in New Zealand? Which regions are those in? Who needs to be more careful? In terms of like, and I've heard language from Australia as well in terms of mitigating risk assessment, all this sort of stuff. So I think between New Zealand and Australia, we have similar kind of things going on that we need to consider. And you guys, I believe, probably have a bigger lot to deal with, because you have different states that have different legislation and rulings on those things as well. Whereas we've got one, so we're a little bit better off.
Sure. But we are incredibly similar compared to what's going on overseas with some of the countries as far as the number of cases. So it's almost like New Zealand is taking the lead, and we're watching, and we're going to follow through, hopefully at the same time. At the moment, Clint, so is everything open, or so is that the point you're at now since Monday?
So yeah, that's basically level 1. Some people decided to hold off. Like, we could go back at level 2. So at level 1, some of those people that decided to hold off longer, I believe, are choosing to re-enter the workforce now. And so basically most of the restrictions are removed. We're still having, like, as a business, we have like the QR codes for contact tracing, and so the same messages around hygiene, hand hygiene, screening. Those are the key messages.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Clint, it's been great to catch up and actually say hi, because we haven't, as I mentioned earlier, we haven't had anyone from NZ on the show, so it's been a real delight to have you on for today. And again, as I mentioned earlier, maybe at some stage we can get you back. Clint,
Absolutely.
again, thanks so much for sharing where you guys are at the moment over in NZ. And again, I'd love to have you back on the show at some stage.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. It's great to be here.
Good on you, mate. See ya.
See you later.